I was halfway through my morning coffee when I heard the familiar sound of gravel crunching behind me. I didn't even turn around. The lake was calm, the water glassy, and my fishing line barely rippled. I'd lived on this land for most of my life. The quiet was earned. Then came the voice. "To there. You can't be here." I sighed and slowly turned my chair. Standing at the edge of my dock was a woman in oversized sunglasses, gripping a clipboard like it was a weapon. I already knew who she was. Everyone did. Karen. President of the Lakeview Shores HOA. Self-appointed ruler of everything within eyesight of the water. "This is private HOA property," she snapped. "You need to leave immediately." I gestured around casually. "I'm on my dock." She scoffed. "This lake belongs to the HOA. You're fishing without permission. I've warned you before." That was a lie. She'd never spoken to me directly. She preferred posting laminated warnings on trees and threatening letters in mailboxes. "I don't belong to your HOA," I said calmly. "That doesn't matter," she replied, already dialing her phone. "The lake does." I watched her step back and pace dramatically as she called 911. Loud enough for the nearby homes to hear. "Yes, hello? There's a man trespassing and stealing fish from our private lake. He's refusing to leave." I raised an eyebrow. Stealing fish? That was new. She hung up and smiled like she'd already won. "The police are on their way. You're about to learn a lesson about community rules." I went back to my coffee. 10 minutes later, 2 patrol cars rolled up. Karen rushed over, practically vibrating with excitement. "That's him," she said, pointing like she'd caught a criminal mastermind. "He's been ignoring HOA rules for months. Fishing, boating, building docks without approval." One of the officers walked toward me. Calm. Professional. "Sir," he said, "we got a call about trespassing." I nodded. I figured. Karen crossed her arms smugly. "I want him removed and fined. Immediately." The officer asked me a simple question. "Do you have permission to be on this lake?" I stood up slowly. I owned it. Ooh. Karen burst out laughing. "That's hilarious. The HOA owns this lake. Everyone knows that." The second officer glanced at the shoreline, then at my dock. "Sir, do you have documentation?" I reached into the waterproof box bolted to the dock and pulled out a folded, weathered copy of the deed. I handed it over without a word. The officer unfolded it. His expression changed. Karen's smile started to crack. "That's fake," she snapped. "He probably printed that off the internet." The officer didn't respond. He walked back to his car and began checking records. Minutes passed. Karen's voice got sharper. "Well, arrest him." The officer returned, holding the paper carefully. "Ma'am," he said, "this deed is legitimate." She blinked. "What?" "This lake," he continued, "including the water, shoreline, and access rights, has been privately owned since Nishononobwe." Karen's face drained of color. "And," the officer added, "it's owned by him." The lake went silent. Karen looked nervously. "That's impossible. Our HOA maintains this lake. We stock it, we make the rules." The officer shook his head. "Maintenance doesn't equal ownership." She turned to me, her voice suddenly sweet. "Why didn't you say something earlier?" I shrugged. "You never asked. You just called the cops." The second officer cleared his throat. "Ma'am, filing a false police report is a serious matter." Her head snapped around. "I wasn't false. I believed it." "Belief doesn't override property law," he replied. Karen started flipping through her clipboard, papers fluttering to the ground. "This can't be right. All residents pay lake dues. We have signs everywhere." I finally spoke again. "You've been charging people for access to something you don't own." Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. That's when a few neighbors gathered nearby, drowned by the flashing lights. Murmurs spread quickly. "You mean he owns the lake? All of it? Then why are we paying HOA fees?" Karen spun toward them. Everyone calm down. This is just a misunderstanding. The officer wasn't done. Sir, he asked me, would you like to file a complaint? She did order you to leave your own property and made a police call based on false information. I looked at Karen. She looked smaller now. Not powerful. Just panicked. No, I said. I think the truth is enough. The officer nodded. Very well. Before leaving, he turned back to Karen. I strongly suggest you stop enforcing HOA rules on property you don't own. Any further incidents could result in charges. They drove off. Silence returned to the lake, but it felt different. Karen stood frozen. You could have told us. I did, I said. Years ago. In wedding. Your board ignored it. Her shoulders slumped. The HOA depends on lake access. Then you should read the deed before pretending to own it. Within weeks, everything unraveled. Residents demanded refunds. The whole website quietly removed the word's key private lake. The dock permits vanished. The fines stopped. And one morning, a moving truck pulled up to Karen's house. I sat on my dock, fishing line in the water, coffee warm in my hands. The lake was quiet again. As it always had been.